say are.
Some 50 years ago, fluoride was considered a revolutionary miracle cure. It has transformed dental health in this great nation of ours. As you all know, fluoride protects our youngsters from the ravages of tooth decay. The benefits have been reaped by young and old alike.
We all want the best for our children, including sparkling white teeth. Children today have fewer fillings than ever before. But what is the truth behind this great success story? Better care of our teeth or the magic ingredient in toothpaste, fluoride? Some parts of Britain, like Birmingham, already add fluoride to the water, and there are now plans to extend this to other cities: Liverpool, Manchester, Glasgow and London. But fluoride is a poison. It may work in small quantities, but people are worried that there's just too much of it around. Amanda Matthews and her brothers Stuart and James were born and raised in a fluoridated area in Bedfordshire. They now live in Suffolk. All three suffer from a condition called fluorosis.
We first became aware that Amanda might have had a problem with her teeth when we visited the dentist just before she was 6. Her second teeth was just starting to come through, and we noticed that they had brown patches on them.
Matthew's family ready for nose to come through.
But once Stuart had got it, then I thought, well, no way, this can't be.
When I first saw that my teeth were discoloured, I was teased quite a lot, especially in the middle school, by people. They used to say, oh, you don't clean your teeth or anything. And they used to call me shit teeth, which did upset me. And even though I knew it was fluorosis.
Fluorosis is a mottling of the enamel of the second teeth caused by fluoride. The authorities blame children for swallowing their toothpaste, but Jenny Matthews insists this never happened in her family.
Right from a young age, I've supervised them brushing their teeth and making sure they don't use too much toothpaste, and they've always brushed their teeth properly.
I'm quite cross about it because going back to when we first noticed it with Amanda, it would have been no means too late to do something about Stuart. Our dentist has always said, well, they can have veneers when their teeth have stopped growing, which depends on when your second teeth came through, but it's usually about 17. And I believe the cost is something like £150 a tooth. But we understand that once you have that done, you've really got to have them replaced about every 7 years. They grind the front of the teeth off, and forevermore you've got that work to be done.
Since Stuart is too young to have veneers put on, his teeth are being covered as a short-term measure. Amanda is considering the same treatment. But fluoride may cause other problems too.
It's clear that when you got to the point of damaging your teeth, you've got to be worried about what it's doing to your bones, or what it will do to your bones in the future. So I think it's far more sensible and wise to think of this as an indication that there may be something else going on.
Half the fluoride taken in by the body is excreted, but the other half stays and builds up in the bones. Birmingham was the first city in Britain to fluoridate its water in 1964. The Royal Orthopaedic is the leading hospital in the region for treating bone diseases. Although excess fluoride damages bones, there's been no research to see if local people now have more fractures.
Here at the Orthopaedic Hospital we see large numbers of elderly patients with arthritis and with spinal problems, and there's no doubt that osteoporosis is a significant problem for these patients. An excessive amount of fluoride in the bones is clearly harmful. and it will affect the incidence of osteoporosis and vertebral crush fractures. There's no doubt that any small change in the average strength of the bone in the population will have a significant effect, because vertebral crush fractures and hip fractures are so common that you've only got to have a small change and a great deal, many more people will suffer from it.
5 international studies have found higher rates of bone fracture in fluoridated areas. In Britain, the Medical Research Council made 4 recommendations for further studies. That was in 1993. So far, it has provided funding for just one of these.
What we need to do is to look at patients with osteoporosis, to look at their bone, to look at the levels of fluoride in the bone, so that we can see whether there really is a problem or not.
Despite these concerns, there is still a strong pro-fluoride campaign led by Michael Lennon, Professor of Preventive Dentistry at the University of Liverpool. He's chairman of the British Fluoridation Society and lobbies to increase fluoridation across the country.
Why I think it's an important priority in health promotion.
The overwhelming consensus view is that fluoride is a very effective way of reducing tooth decay. I mean, that's been reviewed by many, many professional organizations. I mean, the achievements have been huge, absolutely huge, and one of the most significant public health improvements in the last half of this century. And we shouldn't put that at risk.
The reason Professor Lennon doesn't want to put it at risk is that dental health has been transformed, especially among poorer people. Before fluoride, tooth decay was rampant. Yet dental health has also improved dramatically in countries which do not add fluoride to their water. Britain's fluoride is imported from Holland, where, ironically, fluoridation has been banned. Fluoride comes in the form of hexafluorosilicic acid, and in some parts of the world, it can also occur naturally in water. Just 2% of Europe is fluoridated, mainly in Britain and Ireland. The recommended level when fluoride is added to water is 1 part per million. The main fluoridated regions of Britain are the West Midlands, the North East, and parts of Lincolnshire and Bedfordshire. America was the first country to begin fluoridation, but the issue is now being fiercely debated there.
You're going to hear about a wide range of issues and problems that are going on all across the region. What are the pressing issues that are out there that we need to resolve?
A scientist at a leading dental research institute in Boston, Dr. Phyllis Moulinex, exposed rats to fluoride to work out its effects on the human brain and the central nervous system.
What we did was we exposed them, let them drink the fluoride in the water for 6 to 20 weeks. The pattern that we saw, it typically is what we see with other neurotoxic agents that are well known to cause a hypoactivity or a memory problem or an IQ problem. When I first presented the results of these studies, one of the individuals sitting and listening to the results, he says, "Do you have any idea what you're saying?" And he says, "You're telling us that we're reducing the IQ of children."
I'm very, very skeptical about the application of her work to the human situation. I really don't think we can draw any conclusions about that at all. And even the people who are experts in rat metabolism are not convinced by her studies.
But new research from China supports Dr. Moulinex's conclusion that fluoride affects mental development and IQ levels.
I've heard a great deal about a chemical that can be used on the teeth to help prevent decay. Is that a good thing to use?
It certainly is. We use a fluoride solution, and we have evidence that for some people...
50 years ago, American government scientists had clinical evidence that fluoride affected the central nervous system. But all this was kept secret.
Chemical?
You're going to put some chemical in my mouth?
All mention of the effects of fluoride on the central nervous system was stopped.
In 1997, Dr. Moulinex's work was also stopped. She was told it was not useful to dentistry.
Okay, Amanda, so I think we were going to do the same sort of thing for you as we did for your brother.
How long do you think it would last?
Might last years, it can last a few days. But the idea is we get them down for a few years.
Yeah.
And if they do drop off, then you've had nothing different done to your teeth, no drilling.
Yeah, and
It's
there's
just
no damage
glued
to my
on,
teeth.
no damage at all.
My philosophy, and I've always said to them, is everyone's got a cross to bear, and okay, there's that, but it's really only the last 6 months where we've come to realise that possibly it could cause other problems. I've always thought it was just cosmetic, but now I'm really concerned that it's not just cosmetic.
In my view, fluoride is where lead was in the early 70s. That argument lasted about 10 years, and it was finally proven that, yes, low levels of lead, lower than caused visible symptoms, was in fact damaging a child's mental development. I think the same thing's we're going to find with fluoride.
Look, Mom, no cavities!
In the 1950s, fluoride was added to more and more dental products. This miracle chemical was the advertiser's dream.
Yes, Crest is the toothpaste that works, because Crest is the toothpaste with Fluoristan, a special fluoride formula.
When the fluoride dentifrice first came out, there was a great deal of effort to convince the public that they should use fluoride dentifrices. So some of the ads were maybe a little too excessive in terms of promising benefits from what people would get. But actually, if it hadn't been for this effort of the advertisers to get these products out, the widespread use of fluoride dentifrices probably would never have taken place.
This is a report from Colgate on a new advanced fluoride toothpaste, new Colgate with MFP.
John Hine was the person who developed MFP, the form of fluoride still regularly used in toothpaste.
You got to hit people over the head to get their attention, but nobody was being hurt by them. I did my best to tone them down while I was dental director at Colgate, but fighting Madison Avenue is not an easy thing to do when you're just dental director over in the lab.
Now, there are warnings on toothpaste packaging that children should use only a small amount, but you have to look hard to find them, and the warnings are certainly not reflected in advertising campaigns.
The level of fluoride in toothpaste is anything from 1,000 parts per million to 1,500 parts per million. And so, swallowing that toothpaste, you get a large amount of fluoride. And I think it's outrageous that the fluoridized toothpaste often has this lovely taste. It's encouraging children to swallow it, eat it, and some children do.
In Birmingham, although the Regional Health Authority has been enthusiastic about fluoridation, not everyone there regards it as a success story. Suzanne Quayle has severe fluorosis, and her mother Denise, a local school teacher, blames her problems on being unable to avoid fluoride.
I was very angry because nobody had told me about the effects of fluoride. If I'd have known what fluoride would do to the teeth, I would never ever have let her have fluoride toothpaste. As a baby, she used to put a little bit on her thumb when she went to bed and suck it, and I just thought it would be okay. I had no idea what effect there would be from fluoride. There were no warnings on the toothpaste tube at all.
The family has now given up fluoride toothpaste.
Extra decay care. It shows your teeth there looking white. It doesn't show you the brown stains you're going to get if you take the fluoride in, does it? It's very difficult to find non-fluoride products in the chemists, and it's very difficult to ascertain the level of fluoride you're taking in.
Banana flavour, yeah.
They're going to eat that, aren't they? If you went to your doctor and he gave you some medicine, usually there's a leaflet with it which gives you the recognised side effects, and it usually says something to the effect, if you take this medicine and you see these effects, stop taking it and consult your doctor. Whereas with fluoride, you can't go to anyone and say, my teeth are brown, I don't want to take fluoride anymore.
Nobody wants children to have unsightly teeth. I mean, if a mother's been careful to control a child's diet, has been using fluoride toothpaste from a very early age, of course it's very disappointing if the teeth come through initially with white marks and then they may become brown in the course of time. That's undesirable. I think there have been cases where children have been abusing fluoride toothpaste, and we should stop them. We should give their mothers advice, and we should label the toothpaste tubes and so on. And that has been done. And I think the public are generally aware of the need to control the amount of fluoride toothpaste children get.
At Boots, dental products with fluoride outnumber those without by more than 10 to 1. In fact, Suzanne and Denise could only find 4 non-fluoride toothpastes. Dr. Peter Mansfield was a GP for 26 years and is head of an anti-fluoridation pressure group. He is worried about the levels of fluoride we're all exposed to.
One of the troubles with fluoride in this country is that we get a lot of it already before we get it from the water supply. The fluoride toothpaste is quite an important source because of the very concentrated fluoride in it. There's enough fluoride in a toothpaste tube of 60 grams to do serious damage to a child if it should choose to eat it all.
Tea grows best in soil naturally high in fluoride.
We're a great country of tea drinkers, and tea leaves have lots of fluoride, variable between brands, but lots. And after that, it's probably water, but not necessarily out of the tap. Much of that water will have come as the reconstituting fluid for juice concentrates. And also, of course, the pesticide residues on fruit and vegetables, processed or fresh, will contain quite a bit of fluoride.
A new study from the American Academy of General Dentistry found more than half of fruit juices had high levels of fluoride. It blames added water and pesticide residues on the fruit, since most pesticides contain fluoride. The Matthews family wanted to know just how much fluoride they were taking in. They sent urine samples to Dr. Mansfield so he could measure their intake.
From the toxicological point of view, the gap between the therapeutic dose, the dose which is supposed to be of benefit to the teeth, and the dose which can cause toxic effects is very small. It's much smaller than what we normally want, a factor of 100, that the toxic dose is 100 times greater than the therapeutic dose. The optimum level for drinking water is supposed to be 1 part per million. The maximum contaminant level, as prescribed by the EPA, is 4 parts per million. That gap is far too small in my view.
So, if at one level fluoride can damage your teeth, at a higher level your bones, and the central nervous system somewhere in between, then why are the authorities so confident about putting it in the water?
I think that if we were starting all over again and had no research data at all, we probably could not come around to getting fluoridation accepted today, because people would say, oh, it's just too close. We can't possibly do it.
I have seen no research so far that convinces me that fluoride in water at the right level, it causes any problem at all. And our experience over 50 or 60 years with now hundreds of millions of people, and also others where the fluoride is naturally present for generations, none of that experience and none of that research suggests to me that there's any major problem.
Hello?
Is that Mrs. Matthews?
Yes, speaking.
This is Dr. Mansfield at Templegarth Trust. You were good enough to send me some urine samples for the whole family recently, and I've just tested them in our fluoride equipment. I thought you'd like to know the results.
Yes, yeah.
Your husband has quite a low value at 0.75 parts per million. Amanda's figure is quite high, it's 2.1.
Right.
James is 1.3, which is sort of intermediate, and Stuart is 1.9 again. So both Amanda and Stuart have really what I would consider to be quite high values. And as a matter of fact, you're the champ. You come out at 3.3.
Gosh.
For every 3.3 milligrams Jenny excretes, another 3.3 stays in her bones, and she no longer even lives in a fluoridated area. Over 20 years, that level could cause serious health problems.
Firstly, the problem is yet to come. We're only watching it building up now. Even in America, they're only just beginning to see the really crippling stages, and they are already admitting to serious degrees of fluorosis of the teeth, which after all is the shop window of the bones.
So both you and Amanda have got higher levels than the boys
Well,
and
yes,
myself.
I don't know why that... Well, I think that's obviously something to do with the amount of tea, perhaps, that you and I drink more than anybody else. But apparently there is a lot of fluoride in tea, the area that it actually is grown in.
Well, we have to cut down on that.
Well, I did say to him, does that mean I should cut down the tea that I drink? He said you should cut out the tea completely.
There's a list of the medical conditions that anti-fluoridation groups have claimed the fluoride can cause. There's about 60, running down from behavioural changes to housemaid's knee. Now, we can sit here all afternoon talking about each of those medical conditions, if you think that's a sensible use of our time. The point is that the Royal College of Physicians, the most eminent body in Britain, have looked at the evidence very, very carefully and have advised the government there is not a problem. The government's own medical advisors have done the same, and public health doctors throughout the world have done the same.
I think probably it'd be the cup of tea first thing in the morning that I'd miss more than anything. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think we should try cutting the tea out completely and find other things
So
that
is
we
he
can
saying
drink?
don't have fluoride toothpaste?
Yes, yeah, so we need to get some non-fluoride toothpaste.
What about beer?
Didn't
Do you
ask him
think
about beer, actually.
Oh,
I suppose you can still drink your beer.
We really don't know what a low level of fluoride is, and I'm not sure that we are getting a low level of fluoride. We've not been allowed to study this and further and look at lower and lower doses, but given over longer periods, say the lifetime of the individual or the animals, that's the question that we haven't even begun to touch. So I'm not sure what a low level is.
If you were building a dam above a village, you'd have to know everything was right about the structure of that dam. If we see a little crack in that dam, then that crack has to be taken seriously. And I think the cracks appear with fluoridation, with increased hip fracture, bone cancer in young males, possibly damage to the central nervous system. All these are red flags. Now we should apply the precautionary principle. The statement that there are no health cracks is an arrogant posture in my view, and I define arrogance as ignorance backed up with overconfidence. They haven't done the studies, the science has been poor, and you just can't assume that everything you don't know is going to work out in your favor.
Did you have any reaction when you went to school after you'd had your teeth done? Did anybody notice the difference?
Yeah, when I walked into school, I couldn't stop smiling.
Can you?